Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Yoruus speaking and welcome to the introduction spoiler video for multiplayer game number 52. This short video will consist of two parts. In the first part I will try to introduce the game, setting and players, and in the second part I will do a short summary of the game, so if you do not want to know how the game went and who was playing or anything like that, just stop watching this video and go to the second position of the playlist, and if you just want to know the initial settings of the game, stop watching after that part and go to the second position of the playlist where the actual game starts. So this time I'm happy to bring you a free-for-all 6-player No Quitters game. No Quitters is a Steam group that gathers people who just want to play Civ without people quitting on them. You can find the link in the About section of my channel. Just check the profile, read the rules, join the chat and ask one of the moderators to invite you and have some cool games. Together in this game, we've got Sir Drake, NQ Shumi 16, Arctic 2, Mr. Panang, and NQ Lucky Strike. The game will be played on Pangea, small size, quick speed, Ashidra start, turn timer as usual, standard city states, well, basically every other settings set to standard, though I believe that, as usual with NQ Lucky Strike games, there's no strategic balance, something that I don't like, but well, at least it's a little bit more, it's even more random than normal random games. Right, so one more time, if you don't want to know how the game went, stop watching right now and go to the second position of the playlist where the actual game starts. So this time I rolled Austria. And after initial scouting, it would seem that I'm actually on my own little piece of land, actually like Victoria, pretty close. I chose to actually go population 3 and get to Lake Victoria as soon as possible, just to get that frontal blocker city and then expand to the rest of my land. The only problem is, well, there's two problems as usual. First of all, I'm still in the mood for Liberty openers, and I did win Liberty hoping for a quick settler, so I had like 4 settlers and all of that good stuff. The problem is I had 2 unique luxuries, okay? 4 cities, Liberty and 2 unique luxuries, it's something that gimp you up enormously. So basically my whole starting decisions except planting Lake Victoria was pretty much bad. There was no real good reason to rush any more cities than those initial 2 cities and going for tradition, which obviously I did not do in this game. So my initial assumption was correct. I was alone on my piece of land, and the problem was still only 2 unique luxuries. I only had gems, I only had whales. Basically, I was struggling for every single piece of population that I could have. And though my land looked pretty amazing, well, just the land, allowing for a lot of cities later on, but just that initial happiness problems, which did not allow me to get much more population, were basically, I was just so far behind, amazingly behind. The only good thing was that I was so isolated that nobody actually chose to get in here and attack me. Because if they would, I would be in so much trouble. Basically, NQ Shumi was doing the usual stuff, which means full city, science craziness, leading as usual. NQ Lucky Strike doing amazing as well. Well, basically everyone was doing quite okay. And one unique thing about this game is Arctic 2 playing Azules, and he actually decided to go totally OCC. Something you don't see that much, but surprisingly, he was doing great. So basically I was absolutely last. Well-deserved position in this game. I finally managed to get rid of barbarians from the west side of my land. And I saw two more unique luxuries there, so I decided to plant those cities as fast as possible. I did get National College, but I had huge gold problems. I had to use cargo ships to actually get gold. My cities were very, very small, and my science was, well, depressing is the best word to describe my science output at this game. So what I decided to do at this stage of the game, I absolutely decided to throw away any idea about defending, about attacking, or anything like that. I decided that if I want to have any chance to actually get something done in this game, I'm just gonna go glass cannon economy build. So I only focused on getting more cities, planting all the land that I could, getting all the economy buildings up, sorting out the gold, sorting out the science, sorting out the production, and I absolutely neglected army. I think I was actually less for some portion of the game, but well, I basically decided this is the only option, which was, I think tactically it was a wise decision, because NQ Lucky Strike was playing India and Mr. Panang was playing Byzantium. They were on the other side of the map. Actually, NQ Lucky Strike had not any coastal cities. Only Mr. Panang had coastal cities, but I don't think he was trying to get any naval attack, and this was the only thing that actually threatened me so much, because though Zulus were my closest neighbor, they were neighboring with NQ Shumi playing as Assyria and Sir Drake playing as Ethiopia. So actually I was hoping that he will be more worried about those two neighbors than actually he was going to be worried about the person that has the last score, which is me. So basically that was my assumption, and this is what I was trying to do to get back into this game. So I was trying to do my best to get back into this game. Thankfully, Arctic's capital, the amazing 41 population capital, was providing with some extra technology. Surprisingly, he did not decide to attack anywhere at this point of the game. What I believe he was trying to do is probably getting some well-promoted MP and then upgrading them into infantry and trying to do something with infantry. On OCC. Basically everyone else was well, Sir Drake was the actual economic master of this game. He had so much hammers, very impressive. Arctic was actually leading in science for quite a long time with OCC. Then Enki as usual just started to go away crazy, but that's what you get when you have 4 well-established city. Then when you have only one. NQ Lucky Strike was doing the usual stuff, going for tourism with his isolated start. It was looking kind of scary. Nobody treat that seriously at this point of the game, but he definitely did tourism, trying to go for that culture victory. And Mr. Panang, I have no idea what he was actually trying to do in this game, but he had a well-established civilization as well. And me, turn 125, 161 science on 6 cities. Bad, very bad. And I think my overall population was less than population that Arctic has in his capital. So I really was in a very bad shape, but I was trying hard to catch up. Really trying to catch up to the leaders of this game. I finally started to look okay. And I mean, like, okay is the best word to describe the situation. I finally had some decent science, though on turn 158 it was not that great. And military, well, all of this came at a price. I had absolutely no military whatsoever. If somebody would choose to get in here with ships or land some army, especially that I think at this stage of the game there were infantry on the field, I would be in big trouble. But thankfully, it would seem that they were pretty busy with themselves. Arctic chose to attack. I know if exactly at this stage of the game, or a little bit later on, but Arctic decided to attack Sir Drake, then they made peace, then Shumi attacked Arctic too, and I think Sir Drake. So basically they were keeping busy with themselves, and I still had the time to actually get some and get some economy building that I desperately needed to finally get back into this game. So things looked not that bad, I would say. The only problem is Artek finally started losing, so I was starting to lose my only buffer against Enkyshumi, and knowing Enkyshumi, he would think that I'm in a much better shape than I actually were, and he would try to attack me later on. Thankfully, Artek did hold on a little bit more, and then Drake was fighting Enkyshumi as well. The problem was nukes. Nukes finally arrived in here, and the real warfare against Enkyshumi with nukes was really hard. Artek basically fell pretty soon, and Drake, who was was the next opposing force in here, actually, well, he had his capital nuked, so that was a pretty big problem at this stage of the game. Though I finally caught up. Well, I finally caught up. I had a nice science output though, for the cost of so much more cities. So basically, though my science output was pretty good, I was still pretty far behind in technology. Now I did a mistake. Well, not a mistake. Enkyshumi finally decided to, well, were two mistakes. Enkyshumi finally decided to attack Mr. Panang, which was a bad decision at that point of the game because Enky Lucky Strike was basically racing for culture victory pretty efficiently, and the best culture save in this game was Mr. Panang's, so actually taking one of his cities out was just getting Enky Lucky Strike's win a little bit faster. And I had an agreement with Mr. Panang to help him out by nuking Enkyshumi's capital, which I obviously did, but what I should have done is actually go right straight for Enky Lucky Strike to prevent him from getting that culture win and trying to deal damage to him. But, well, nobody actually thought this will happen, so we were basically starting to get in trouble. I think there was like, I don't know, from this point of the game it was like a matter of 5-6 turns before Enky Lucky Strike would get culture win. So all of us, basically everyone, made peace at this stage of the game and tried to slow Enky Lucky Strike down. And I do believe I did get some sort of a bug. I'm not extra sure that I did have a bug with technology after burning great scientists, but I had a huge overflow of beakers. So basically I was researching text for some time by one turn, and I'm almost 100% sure positive that this was some sort of a bug, that I had too much beakers from great scientists bulbing that I should get at this stage of the game. This is how situation looked one turn from Enky Lucky Strike achieving a culture victory in a multiplayer free-for-all game. I messed up tremendously. For some unknown reason, I was not able to nuke the tile that I did want. So basically, I nuked the wrong tile, damaging my troops surrounding the city. And on top of that, Enkyshumi did not have enough aircraft. Well, basically it was too slow. We were all too slow to actually deal enough damage to Enky Lucky Strike's capital to get him down before he was able to get a culture victory. So basically, good job Enky Lucky Strike, good job at achieving culture victory in a free-for-all game. As you can see, this happens. This happens when actually people don't recognize the true threats fast enough. You can actually sneak in a culture victory pretty efficiently. That tourism output of almost 1k at the late game, that's amazing. That starts to be like a matter of turns to actually get a culture victory if there's no strong culture sieves in the game. So pretty amazing job, great job Enky Lucky Strike, GG to everyone. Pretty cool game, though I I was definitely playing a catch-up, kind of a glass cannon. I do believe I had a bug in science, though I still enjoyed this game pretty much, though I was playing from behind all the time, didn't have too much warfare, but just watching what was going on the map was pretty cool, and trying to catch up was pretty cool as well. So I enjoyed this game very much, and I invite you to watch the actual game that starts on the second position of the playlist. So one more time, thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for the game, and best wishes. Yoruus out.